It is a $4 billion plan. It is big, but the moment requires it. If we didn't go big on this, we're not going to get to where we need to be.
Good evening, it's October 27th, and welcome back to Cape Media News, your source for spooky, hyper-local news that matters. I'm Lauren Williamson. Governor Maura Healey headed to Yarmouth Gardens on Tuesday to discuss the new affordable housing bill. Healey was joined by Secretary of Housing and Livable Communities Ed Augustus, Yarmouth Selectman, and Barnstable County Commissioner Mark Forrest. State Senator Julian Sear and State Representatives Kip Diggs, Christopher Flanagan, and Dylan Fernandez, all of whom have been supportive and involved in the development of the bill that highlights the Cape as an area especially affected by the housing crisis.
It is a $4 billion plan. It is big, but the moment requires it. If we didn't go big on this, we're not going to get to where we need to be. So it's a $4 billion bond package that will create or preserve 70,000 new homes for low and middle income families in Massachusetts. It's going to address the housing shortage and make our state more affordable. It's going to help us meet our climate goals. It's going to empower communities. It's not one size fits all. There's a whole menu of options that communities can select from to make things work. And it's also going to create thousands of high-paying construction jobs in partnership with the Massachusetts building trades. It's got a lot of moving parts, but let me just zoom in on the Cape. There's a homeowner production tax credit, which would create new homeownership opportunities for moderate income households. It supports local capacity with a $175 million investment in our new Housing Works program. These are funds that towns can use to prepare their infrastructure for new homes. And we will repair and modernize over 43,000 units of state-funded public housing around the state. In addition to these investments, the Affordable Homes Act sets forth a landmark collection of policies to keep making homes more affordable.
The multifaceted housing bill is still in the early stages of being reviewed by legislators, but the support and cooperation of many local officials sustains hope that legislator approval is imminent. Clean up and green up. Keep Barnstable Beautiful, a volunteer-led nonprofit organization, is hosting a fall litter cleanup on Saturday, November 4th, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Craigfield Beach. Keep Barnstable Beautiful is one of the 40 local chapters of the statewide nonprofit Keep Massachusetts Beautiful. The group's primary focus is litter prevention and cleanup. By working with local businesses, municipal government leaders, and the Barnstable Department of Public Works, the hope is to understand who and what is causing litter to address the issue at its source. Their efforts will also go towards waste reduction, recycling, and beautification projects that will protect our environment and promote community pride. To pre-register for the fall litter cleanup and to learn more about how you can get involved, please visit keepmassbeautiful.org. Trick-or-treat safely this Halloween on Main Street in Hyannis. From 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., Main Street will be closed to traffic to allow trick-or-treaters to safely hunt local businesses who will be handing out candy and treats. In the past, this event has included face painting, magicians, and other street performers. Parents and pets are also encouraged to come in costume and participate in the spooky fun. Ever wonder how cranberries are harvested? Come watch a wet harvest in action at Fresh from the Vine in West Yarmouth, October 28th, 29th, and November 4th, and 5th, starting at 10 a.m., rain or shine. Grab some fresh cranberries from their farm stand, open all season until the cranberries run out. Visit the Fresh Farm from the Vine Facebook page to learn more. State and federal lawmakers gathered on October 13th at the Massachusetts Maritime Academy to discuss the state of the 88-year-old born in Sagamore bridges and reaffirm their commitment to securing funding for the bridge and replacement project. Experts say the Cape bridges, considered vital regional infrastructure, are coming to the end of their lifespan, necessitating major rehabilitation sooner rather than later. Representative Bill Keating estimated that major rehabilitation would completely close the Bourne Bridge for 5 months, with lane closures extending at least 16 months. This is one of the many reasons officials are stressing the urgency of replacing the bridges. The housing crisis is also exacerbating bridge traffic as skyrocketing housing prices push more and more of the working class off Cape. Senator Elizabeth Warren stated that, quote, "These problems are getting worse. The bridges are slowing down responses to emergency services and leaving residents vulnerable to climate-driven catastrophes. Their dire state threatens the entire tourist industry on the Cape, a major driver of the entire Commonwealth economy." This meeting comes 2 months after the Healey administration filed a $1.4 billion grant application for the project, after the federal government rejected the first grant in January. State officials say this proposal is more likely to be approved due to the combined efforts of state, federal, and local lawmakers. Coming up after the break, American Airlines adds service to Cape Cod. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Lauren Williamson. Exciting news for Cape Cod travelers, as American Airlines is set to provide more ways to escape the Cape in 2024. We spoke to the airport's assistant manager to learn more about this new service.
American recently announced that starting next year in June 2024, they're going to add service here for the first time at the Cape Cod Gateway Airport in Hyannis. They'll have 2 flights a day. They'll have 1 flight from here to LaGuardia in New York City and another to Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. So the significance there is with American, they have a very large network across the world. So when passengers arrive to the airport here, they can board an American flight to either New York or Washington, and from there they could connect on another American flight within the American system to a variety of places around the world. It works both ways. For the year-round residents who live here, this is a new connection to obviously those cities and then places where they can connect on flights to other locations in the American network. And also for visitors and tourists, it's a new way in through the gateway here to Cape Cod.
The new service to New York is set to begin on June 5th and service to Washington on June 22nd. In preparation for this exciting development, the airport is also undergoing changes to accommodate the new services, including potential runway extensions to serve the existing fleet of aircraft.
So for the new service, we're able to bring those aircraft in alongside the JetBlue aircraft that are here now. We continue to go through our environmental assessment project, and that does include looking at a runway extension to the runway 1533. That's based on serving the existing family of aircraft, the fleet of aircraft that are here now, to help serve it. It will allow aircraft to take off with more fuel in those passengers to go to further destinations. So another exciting thing, last Friday, following 6 months of a lot of work, we reopened runway 624, which is one of our 2 runways. That project was a 6-month project, as I mentioned. It reconstructed a full depth reconstruction, so not just the pavement, but all of the base layers underneath. It was a lengthy project, but that runway, the prior runway, lasted about 30 years, which exceeds the 20-year useful life. So this project will set the airport up for 20 years of runway 624 being in service.
Zoning changes in downtown Hyannis are already making an impact. Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District gave a certificate of appropriateness and a certificate of demolition to Boston developer Wynn Development for the site of the abandoned TD Bank at 307 Main Street in Hyannis. The proposed development, called Harbor View, includes 120 mixed-income apartments in a 4-story building with 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments. Wynn Development has committed to dedicating 30 of these apartments for those making less than 80% of the median income in the area for 40 years. Some of the apartments will also be dedicated to individuals in the workforce making 60% or less than the area's median income. The Hyannis zoning changes, approved in February, which encourage private investment in housing and development of underused property for year-round residents, have influenced the allocation of mixed-income apartments in this project. Despite aesthetic revisions to the project after recommendations from the Commission, including new window types, shutters, outside lighting, and decorative balconies, some members still think the proposed building is simply too large for the property. However, many local business owners are supportive of this project, which will bring local working people closer to the businesses which employ them and which they patronize. State Representative Dylan Fernandez and State Senator Julian Cyr have filed a bill to establish transparency and accountability for spending at town meetings. The bill would mandate the same accountability for warrant articles, which are items to be voted on in town meetings, as is already in place for candidate campaigns and ballot questions. The goal is to keep thorough public records of money spent towards lobbying for and/or against issues brought to the town, and to prevent manipulation of the warrant process and town meeting voting. Cyr, a proponent against dark money in government, said that it's, quote, bewildering and distressing that people with deep pockets and financial interests think that they can buy their way into our local governance. We're done with moneyed interests trying to sway town politics on the Cape and Islands. Voters deserve to know who is behind campaigns seeking to influence local policies that will impact those of us who live here year-round. To wrap up National Teen Driver Safety Week, AAA Northeast released new data last week showing that fatalities from teen driver crashes are the highest since 2008. In 2022, 49 people in Massachusetts were killed in crashes involving drivers ages 16 to 19. The highest number of deaths since 56 fatalities were recorded in 2008. While data analysis has yet to determine what causes spikes in teen crashes, it is known that the main causes are preventable. Accidents are distracted driving, failure to yield to right-of-way, tailgating, speeding, and driving outside of proper lanes. For teenagers, having other teen passengers in the vehicle is one of the most dangerous sources of distraction. Traffic crashes are one of the leading causes of death in the United States for teens ages 16 to 19. Per miles driven, teen drivers are 3 times more likely to be killed in a collision. AAA Northeast underscores the pivotal role of parents and guardians in shaping their teenagers' driving habits, emphasizing that young drivers are often emulating their parents' behavior behind the wheel. If the damage is already done, AAA encourages parents to talk with their teens about personal responsibility, wearing seatbelts, and eliminating those distractions. Or check out their online course for parents of teens who are or will be soon on the road. Brian Serpone, the principal owner of the Music Room, a live entertainment venue on Route 28 in Yarmouth, is entangled in a lawsuit over the alleged transfer of $2.9 million before declaring bankruptcy for his company, Levy Breaks Investment Group. The lawsuit was filed on September 22, 2023, to the U.S. Bankruptcy Court in Boston, claiming that these transfers were made to hinder, delay, or defraud creditors. Levy Breaks Investment Group used investor funds to purchase and renovate Cape Cod properties. Brian Serpone filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy in October 2021, just a week after the State Securities Division had filed a civil administrative complaint against Levy Breaks. A forensic audit on Levy Breaks done in 2022 found that $2.9 million in transfers had been made to 4 bank accounts prior to the bankruptcy filing, according to the complaint. Brian Serpone was also the holder and/or signatory of all 4 bank accounts, the complaint alleges. The 4 defenders listed in the complaint are the 2 managers of the Levee Breaks Investment Group, Brian and Richard Serpone, Serpone Innovations, and Alpha Entertainment Group. Brian also manages Alpha Entertainment Group and Serpone Innovations LLC, which does business at the Music Room. The legal action aims to recover funds for 77 creditors, totaling $4.5 million in claims. Some creditors had invested their life savings in the enterprise. Massachusetts law allows a 4-year look-back to detect fraudulent conveyances. As investigations continue, the spotlight remains on Brian Serpone and the alleged financial irregularities surrounding the levee breaks. Coming up after the break, Barnstable Town Council holds a special meeting for anti-Avangrid activists. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Lauren Williamson. The Barnstable Town Council held a special meeting of the voters on Monday night in response to a petition they received last month requesting an open meeting to discuss concerns about Avangrid's Park City Wind and Commonwealth Wind projects. Several hundred residents attended the 3.5-hour meeting held at Barnstable High School, where they took turns asking questions and listening to the town's response. Take a look.
Good evening, and thank you for taking the time to attend this special town council and open meeting of the voters. I'm Mark Ells, Barnstable's town manager. My introductory comments will try to address the issues and concerns identified in the petition, but my primary role is to listen and to try to respond to your issues and concerns.
How do you expect citizens to feel comfortable and support the horizontal drilling under our beaches, the micro-tunneling under the Centerville River, the digging up of our streets in the historic hearts of our villages and residential neighborhoods, and the building of enormous power substations on top of our wellhead protection areas, but companies whose consultants' work is described by our own assistant DPW director as crap?
I'm sorry to disappoint all the people I told I was not going to speak this evening, but I want to make a point that I hope so many people are leaving, and I need to make this point before too much longer. The town does have power. It's been one of our major arguments. And I want to make sure that every person in Barnstable that cares about this knows that the town council does have the power to say no. And I just, thank you.
This is about landing 2 billion with a B watts of energy under the town of Barnstable's recreational and residential areas. In my opinion, that's not appropriate. There are... Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I told you it was going to be a great show tonight.
I came here to learn, and I've been learning a lot, much of which alarms me. I think the idea of routing cables through the Cape Cod Canal sounds very appealing for somebody who's still on the bottom end of the learning curve here. And certainly there's a lot to be concerned about. I'm old, and I'm looking around and I'm seeing a lot of gray heads and a few bald ones too. I'm not going to be here to see what happens if we, not just on Cape Cod, but as a people, fail to address the climate crisis. But our grandchildren and great-grandchildren will come storming into heaven, and they will demand of us, you said you loved us. How could you have let this happen? That you knew what was coming and did nothing. So all I can do as I continue to learn here is beg all of you to make sure that when we have satisfied as much as we can satisfy, that we figure out how to do this. Because if we fail to do it, And we seem to be in the lead in the country, and I'd rather see us as pioneers than guinea pigs. I like the feel of that a lot better. Because if we fail, then the rest of the country gets to take the model that you can, stop something like this with the death of 1,000 cuts, as the Chinese used to call it, the death of 1,000 cuts. I don't want to see alternative energy die in this country, a death of 1,000 cuts. We have to figure this out.
I feel like we've really dug into some important details in a healthy and transparent way tonight. So a sincere, word of thank you to the petitioners who pulled this together. But I also feel like we need to expand the aperture a little bit to look at the entire picture. I think we should be saying to ourselves, this is our wind, and then asking ourselves what we want to do with it. We should be determining our own path forward as much as possible, and thereby reducing the spaces in which terms are dictated to us. This entire experience has felt predicated on a sense of a loss of control. This event tonight represents a retaking of some of the control lost by our citizens, and that should be applauded. It's a big step in the right direction to restore some sense of trust that your elected officials and town staff are always working in your best interests. Up until now, the tenor of this conversation has been that unwelcome things are being done to us, and this kind of experience can lend itself to a victimhood narrative in which information appears contradictory, and everyone appears to have this self-interested agenda, and our citizens feel like things are way out of their control.
I heard Mr. Ells answer most of the questions. Attorney Nober also pitched in. They used we a lot. I don't know who we is. I don't think I heard that the town council was consulted and voted on these things. I'll say we, a town council, well, I'll just speak for myself. I can only speak for myself here. I am an elected representative. Mr. Ells is not elected. And we are the direct voice of the people. And I feel that's important, and I think that's what I've heard tonight, is we need to have better communication with the people who elected us, and there needs to be a process where we listen to people better, and we have open communication, and we have more transparency in our decisions.
So we have shown that we have seen and recognized the fact that there is power in the Article 97. Now, I will not say that this was not a great event. This was a great event because it was an opportunity for us to get information to you to the best of our knowledge. So now I am recognizing, you hear me, that in Article 97, we recognize that. We did that as a council. Now, moving forward, I believe the best course of action is gather this information. Notice we didn't have Avangrid present today. This was not a meeting about Avangrid. This was a meeting with you and us. I purposely did it that way and asked them not to participate so that at a future date we could collect as much information here as possible and move forward and get your questions through a town council meeting, again, which you are welcome to come to, and it will most likely be our second meeting in November, that you could come and ask questions of the council will. You see the council on the dais ask questions of Avangrid. To talk about things like safety, right? To talk about things like money, okay? So now, what I ask you is please continue to stay engaged. Please continue to reach out to us. I know Town Manager Ells has said, please ask him questions. The reason why Town Manager Ells was answering a lot of the questions today is because he would do a better job than any councilor. That's why he's in the position that he's in. With over 30 plus years of working for the town of Barnstable, I could not answer those questions. Could I answer most of them? Sure. But as well as him? No. Because I wasn't the president of the council when these first two agreements, Vineyard Wind and Park City Wind, were put in place. And I thank you very much for being here. Again, I wish everybody stayed till the very end, but maybe you can pass it on and they can watch it on YouTube at a later date.
Thank you for joining us on this hallowed evening. If you have a story that you'd like to see us cover, send us a news tip at capemedia.org. Tune in every week for more hyperlocal news that matters on Channel 26, Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media, including Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok to stay up to date. For Cape Media News, as always, I'm Lauren Williamson.